Brian Orndorff of DVDTalk.com says, "Its funny bone personality is larger than life. It's a film I adore for its purity of intentions." Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times calls it a comedy so listless, leisurely, and unspirited that it was an act of the will for me to care about it even while I was watching it. And Rita Kempley of the Washington Post says, "The moral is a sweet one. If you try, you never fail. The world is graded on a curve." On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of summer school.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be?
The Ruined Childhoods Podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters. It's time for Ruined Childhoods, where my brother John and I talk about all of the movies and franchises and series that we love and how we can best advise Hollywood to not screw them up.
Well, the movies that we love, but also movies that maybe we think we should be talking about, such as Cannonball Run.
Yes, exactly.
Not to say that we didn't enjoy it, but we had never seen it before.
Cannonball Run was not a beloved film of our youths. So, yeah.
Of our adult lives, maybe.
Perhaps, yeah. Beloved's going a bit far, but I definitely found
we all had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun.
We did.
While we're on the subject of Cannonball Run, and first of all, I'm foregoing my typical news segment since I'm not sure if we're going to be releasing this right after the last one, or I'm going to wait a little bit since Dan's going to be out of the country for a little while. So yes. I might put this one in like mid-month, but I did want to issue an apology. I feel like we slacked a little bit on not giving enough information, because there was a Cannonball Run, and we talked about a script being written by Thomas Lennon and Ben Grant, but there had been something actually in the works that, I mean, must have just fizzled away. I've already forgotten who was involved.
It was Eitan Cohen.
Eitan Cohen. What did Eitan Cohen do?
Well, apparently not the new Cannonball Run.
Not the new Cannonball Run.
But he was Eitan Cohen. He's kind of, he worked on, well, I mean, probably not the best credit to start it off with, but Holmes and Watson. I think he worked on Tropic Thunder.
Right. I did know that there was some sort of Will Ferrell involvement.
Yeah. Idiocracy. Tropic Thunder. He was a writer on Get Hard, Men in Black 3, Holmes and Watson, and he's also worked with Mike Judge. He was a writer. He co-wrote Idiocracy and worked on King of the Hill. And actually goes all the way back to Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. So there in June of 2018. So a little over a year ago, there was a report on Deadline, and I'm actually reading something from Maxim that quotes the Deadline article, but it says, "This isn't a remake as much as a relaunch of a film based on the famous Cannonball Seed to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy race that was captured in the 3 Hal Needham directed films that starred Burt Reynolds, so on and so forth." And then it goes on to say, while we live in an age where auto stunts have gotten so extreme that many fans legitimately hope the Fast and the Furious goes into space, the new Cannonball could benefit from those stunts, but won't be another Fast and the Furious movie. I think we're living in a post or current Fast and Furious world, so I don't think Cannonball can out Fast and the Furious. The Fast and the Furious is its own thing. Had the fun of Ocean's 11, which makes sense because of the Rat Pack connection of the original, not Brat Pack, like I said the last time. foolishly.
Though, man, wouldn't it be great though if they had like the Brat Pack? If like one of the cars was just like a van, it was Emilio Estevez, Molly Ringwald, Judd Nelson, Anthony Michael Hall. They pick up Ali Sheedy like hitchhiking. I don't know.
Yeah. So Doug Liman was in early talks to take over directing the Cannonball Run. That was also June of 2018. So probably
that
the
makes
same.
Sense. That made sense to me. Doug Liman. I'm thinking Born Identity, and I'm thinking Go.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think that it'd be really fun to have. And this is not an episode about the Cannonball Run again, but because he did Edge of Tomorrow, it'd be really fun to do. Get Tom Cruise in there. Oh
my God, Tom Cruise reprising his role from Days of Thunder as Cole Trickle. Perhaps my favorite Tom Cruise character name.
Cole Trickle.
I love Days of Thunder. Hot take. I
don't know if I've ever seen
Thunder.
it.
I prefer it to Top Gun.
Really?
As they are often, it's Days of Thunder was kind of, it's not really the same thing, but they called it Top Gun in cars. But I always preferred Days of Thunder. I liked the cast more. I thought the pacing was better. I thought the cars, I found the cars more exciting than the planes. Anyway, long story short, that's where I land on the Top Gun Days of Thunder thing. Most people prefer Top Gun. I'm a Days of Thunder guy.
If you know me, you know I'm a Val Kilmer guy. So
yes,
give me Kilmer, and I'm a happy guy.
Speaking of, so on the last episode, MacGruber came up.
Yeah,
and I hadn't. You were You were singing its praises, and I stayed quiet because the only time I saw MacGruber was one of those preview screenings, and I for whatever reason wasn't a huge fan of it. I watched it. I watched it yesterday, or You watched it
yesterday?
I had on last night. I had some of it on last night as I was finishing up. Grading papers, real life teaching as opposed to summer school. But so I was like, you know what? I can put on MacGruber in the background. That'll be a nice little background thing while I'm taking care of business here. And I have to say, I enjoyed it a lot more. I definitely appreciated a lot more about Will Forte's performance and about the screenplay. Definitely enjoyed Val Kilmer. I always enjoyed Val Kilmer, and I thought Kristen Wiig in that movie was pretty great from the get-go.
Okay, so for me, nothing is better than his obsession with tracking down the person who drives the car with the license plate KFBR 392 or whatever it is, the guy who makes fun of his car, and he is just, his notebooks are filled with the guy's license plate number, and he's just obsessed with this. Nothing is better than that. That is the most brilliant F story of a movie, through line joke that just keeps on creeping up, and it's done so masterfully. It's so good. I can understand why it was not a big hit. It's so just bizarre and profane. Well, and I always had an issue with the SNL sketch MacGruber when it was on, because I was like, oh, that's so dumb, just to do it's so I don't know, tacky to do a MacGyver parody.
You're making fun of a show that's 20 years old.
I know, but then when you actually watch it, it's okay, this is actually really smart and weird. And the movie does what clearly the, SNL sketches could never do. Oh. And it does it in such a wonderful way.
Ever? Yeah.
The celery in the ass.
Val Kilmer's character name?
Yeah, pretty much. It's so good. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
not what we're talking about on this episode. We're talking about Summer School.
Summer School, 1987, directed by Carl Reiner.
You know, and I don't think I even realized that until I picked up the DVD from my local library and I saw his name on the front. I was like, wait a second, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, well, and
he
he's
has a cameo in it too.
He's in it. Yeah. This is not really like, a big, great, wonderful story, but I did have the opportunity once to meet Carl Reiner. And
did you?
And shake his hand. Yeah. I saw him. He did a talk at the 92nd Street Y in New York City. And my good friend Lynn Rosenberg brought me along to that. And he had a new novel coming out. And, the novel was cute. It was funny. But just hearing him talk and tell stories about everything from working in the Dick Van Dyke Show to, The Jerk. I don't think there were too many summer school stories, but Carl Reiner, just a wonderfully funny and intelligent writer, director, performer.
Yeah.
Who directed this.
And Summer School it's a very sweet movie. And one of the reviews that we had at the beginning of the episode, the intro, from the Washington Post, kind of nails it and says, the moral is a sweet one. If you try, you never fail. The world is graded on a curve. And I fully agree with that. It's such an earnest movie. And I feel like Mark Harmon, who I can't say I really have seen much more of his work because I don't watch NCIS or JAG or whatever else he did.
I think NCIS is pretty much, I
think he did one of those other shows he did, but he's just, he'll always be Mr. Shoop to me. He's just this fun, easygoing gym teacher who just cares about his students. That's really the core of it. He's not doing a lot of what he's doing for really selfish reasons. And just to go into a little brief synopsis, Summer School, very simple plot. There are a select group of students who failed a particular English test that would require them that they need to pass in order to move on. And so they need to go to summer school. The teacher who would be teaching summer school, played by Carl Reiner, ends up winning $50,000 on a scratcher and says, "See you later, kiss my ass." And the only teacher who's around to get suckered into doing summer school for this class is Mr. Shoop, the gym teacher, who is, a beach bum who has a very loyal dog and just kind of a guy who wants to breeze through life. The only reason why he has a teaching job is that he has summers off. And so he gets roped into teaching these kids and basically, what's up?
Which is, I think it's so funny because he says that, you find that out as he says this to the assistant principal, which is funny because when I heard that, the first thing I thought was, oh, he must have tenure. And then the next line was, you need my recommendation for tenure. So I was like, damn.
Yeah. So it just ties up that question right away. And in order to get this group of kind of screw ups to pass this class so that he can get his tenure, he essentially, takes bribes and grants wishes for the kids. And over the course of this time, manages to turn their lives around. They turn his life around, and everything doesn't necessarily work out in the end. It does and it doesn't.
It does in the way that it needs to.
Yeah.
And it does. It also doesn't in the way that it needs to not work out.
This movie came out 32 years ago, so I'm going to go ahead and spoil the ending. Pretty much everyone in the class fails, but Mr. Shoop proves that they did accomplish something because of the improvement in their grades. Like some of them went from like an 18 to getting like a 54. And it's, just like looking at to see how well they improved. And the parents are in there and they're saying, this is the first time I've ever seen my kid study. And it brought me to tears. Like that is what gets the principal to go ahead and grant the tenure. And I don't know if he's giving the kids another chance to take the test or what exactly is going on there, but
one of them definitely. Rhonda, the one who went into labor during the test, gets a retake.
And I gotta say, the group of students, they're wonderful. It's such a great cast. You have the two horror movie junkies. Who, they're teenage delinquents, but they are nice kids.
Yeah. They're good. They're
Chainsaw
good kids.
And Dave.
They just spend all of their time watching horror movies, especially like gory, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And that's all they care about. And I feel like
they care about one other thing. They also care about the foreign exchange student.
Yes, the busty foreign exchange student who shows up. So, but yeah, they are, and I feel like a lot of the kids in this are types that I felt like I knew, like Chainsaw and Dave, the two guys who love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like I remember that, like the guys I knew in high school who were like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't fail out, but I remember the guys who were like, who would have, the bootleg VHS tapes of never like the director's cut of Army of Darkness or
right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Another thing to note is that this group of students, they all get along. There's never any fighting amongst them. In fact, the one kid who's like the football player, Kevin, he ends up dating the girl who's pregnant, and it's just like a nice little connection they have. They don't go over the top with it. And it's just like, hey, we get along with each other. We should go out. Like they form a relationship. He becomes her Lamaze coach. The Pam, played by Courtney Thorne Smith in a very early role, she has this infatuation with Mr. Shoop, and he never crosses a line, and she never forces him to cross the line. I mean, the line is crossed that she moves in with him.
Well, he crosses the line with everyone by hosting a party in which high school students are drinking. So
right.
I'll get to the teacher's perspective on it, but no. There is, but also, I mean, Courtney Thorne Smith, this was also, so summer of 1987 was kind of her breakout summer because she was in this and she also had a featured role in Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise.
Mm-hmm. That's
playing, Lewis's love interest in that.
Yeah.
But I think she's got much more to work with here.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And then there's the character Alan Ekian, the geek who's not smart. He's got this really high-pitched voice, and it's kind of funny because you would expect that he would just get picked on the whole time, but he doesn't. People encourage him to, just kind of do his thing. And actually, Richard Stephen Horvitz, who plays the character, he has done a lot of like cartoon voices. He was the voice of Invader Zim, if you remember that cartoon from the early 2000s. So much respect to Richard Stephen Horvitz for playing that role so well. I don't know. Dean Cameron plays Chainsaw, and it's just so memorable. I don't know. I could just, and we haven't even talked about Kirstie Alley yet.
I was just going to say we haven't talked about Kirstie Alley, the fact that you used to live in her neighborhood.
Yeah, I was out for a walk one day and saw this house with a giant cage in the front, and there were lemurs in it. And after
Lemurs,
doing
that's what it was. Okay.
yeah, after doing a Google search, discovered that Kirstie Alley lives in that house and has these lemurs. And I looked it up again recently, and there were articles about how she was selling the house, and it comes with this giant lemur cage. So hope those lemurs are doing well. That was quite some time ago, so who knows what the deal is. But
Yeah.
Kirstie Alley.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that until I was watching it, and oh, wait a second. Yeah, she had that house with I thought it was llamas, but llamas,
No,
lemurs.
lemurs.
Yeah, you say llama, I say lemur,
Yep, and I'm correct, and you're not.
I know, yeah.
Anyway.
They were lemurs.
So, and this was also at a time for like a really hot time for Kirstie Alley. It was, let's see, was she on?
I want to say this was her. I think she started on Cheers in '87. I could be
Really? So this year was
off on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna just look that up. And this was then, of course, before the like Look Who's Talking movies.
Post Star Trek 2.
Right, that was 82.
Yeah.
Cheers. Cheers, because she was the original. Yeah, so she was 87.
She was not she took over for Shelley Long.
Yeah. So, yep, 87. So, before that, yeah, she was not, I mean, she was in TV shows and, she was in the movie Blind Date in 84.
This is crazy. So she was in this TV movie Prince of Bel-Air that Mark Harmon was also in.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Well, how about that? But so she plays the real teacher. She's a history teacher that's doing a summer school for AP students next door. So she kind of helps him become a good teacher, and they form a friendship, even though he's kind of hounding her to go out with him, although she is going out with the vice principal, Mr. Gibbs, who's a total dweeb. What's up?
A love triangle that I found very similar to Back to School, the Rodney Dangerfield, Sally Kellerman, and also I think what made me think of it was the guy's name is Philip in both of them.
Oh.
The Paxton Whitehead character in Back to School is Philip, and it's like Philip in this, and like the way that she just said it, I was like, oh, wait a second, this is just like Back to School, just in that.
Wow, I did not even pick up on that.
The fact that it's just these two polar opposite guys. The one's a total tight ass, and the other one is the other end of the spectrum.
And so Back to School was 86. Trying to see if there were any of the same like writers or anything. I don't think so.
I think Harold Ramis wrote Back to School, I think.
Right, but there was a bunch of other writers. I mean, just checking to see if there's any ties, but I don't think so. No. But that is a funny common thread. I wonder if they, were just like, what do we call that character? And then Back to School comes out and it's like, man, we'll just call him the same name as that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's probably no connect. It's like, how we were talking about like Dick Tracy and Batman kind of like had similar, like kind of filled similar places in the like movie calendar and also had similar plots. I think it's a coincidence, but it's just funny because I was like, hey, reminds me of Back to School, which I love. So
Back to School is great. So Dan, let's talk about how you are a teacher and have taught summer school. Let's get into it.
So I am a teacher and I have taught summer school. I taught language arts for one summer in Bronx and Vision Academy. Go BEA in the Bronx. And so my summer school class was, and it's kind of like, so I don't think it's the same everywhere. Like I think some schools you get hired, you go in and they tell you this is the curriculum you're teaching. This is what you're doing. Other schools are just like, this is what the kids need to like know how to do. This is what they need to learn how to understand. You do that. you figure that out. And it's not like you're just like on your own. You've got tons of support, but there's a lot more freedom. I tend to operate better in that type of environment. So that's the type of environment that BEA was. And I had to basically like get these kids to read things and write about what they're reading and, kind of take what they're given and make new, come up with their own take on it. And it ended up just being a course on, it started as I was going to have them read the book Fallen Angels, which was not based on the Poison song. It's a Vietnam novel that is geared towards like middle school, high school readers. It's not it's like not as, the language is definitely toned down. The imagery is toned down. And what I was doing was kind of having them read that book and along the way watching some scenes from movies. We watched like all of Platoon and we watched the second half of Full Metal Jacket. The only time, I think that's the only time anyone has said, yeah, I just watched the second half of Full Metal Jacket. Usually,
I was going to say the first half of Full Metal Jacket is the one that people remember the most.
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing. But I wanted to like kind of give the kids a sense of what they were reading, and that the part with the sniper in Full Metal Jacket kind of worked. So we watched that and watched, just kind of like show them like, all right, this is kind of what this was, somewhat of the experience of the Vietnam War, as told through cinema and as interpreted through cinema. We watched some parts of documentaries. We talked about the anti-war movement, and, it was a very, it was, I mean, it was a nice class. I'd had some of the kids before in my class. I had taught them previously. My class wasn't the one that they failed to get into my summer school class, but as far as that goes, I mean, there's not. I feel like comparing summer school to the movie Summer School and the teaching that goes on to it, and just everything that goes on, it's a little more comparable to my like regular school experience. The summer school experience was very much, I mean, the kids showed up. These were kids who most of whom, probably had inconsistent attendance. And now it was like, all right, well, now you have to show up every day for like 3 weeks, or you have to show up Monday through Thursday for 3 weeks. You think you can handle that? And they would. And that was, and you try to, I guess there's different philosophies of teaching, and some philosophies are you're learning you're doing what I give you to do. You have no choice in the matter. This is it. This is the program. You either get with it or you're here again. And then there's kind of all right, this isn't working. What else am I going to do? Which is how that Vietnam class ended up being less about like writing about a novel and more about writing about the war and writing about it became much more based in nonfiction, just because that's what was interesting the kids more. And I'm like, well, if my goals are, I need to get them to read something and write about it, why don't I give them like, hey, this is an interview with a veteran about his experience.
Hoping you were going to say vampire.
Coming home. An interview with a vampire. Yes, Louis and Lestat. In Vietnam. With Forrest Gump. Why not?
Talk about a sequel idea.
It's a 1994 mashup. But what I did find, what I was really, this is the first time I've been watching Summer School since I've started teaching. And I only started teaching 7 years ago. So really, really like full time. But the way that I came up, or the way that I was kind of trained, was to be responsive and to be responsive to student needs, which like Mr. Shoop really is. And you also get you learn about relationship building. Like there's this, like some new teachers here, like don't smile in front of the class before Thanksgiving break. Like let them know you're serious. Don't let down your guard. You know,
Is that a real thing?
That's a real, I don't think it is anymore. I don't know how many, it's certainly where I went, Pace University did not like that. That was like, okay, like some people say that and that's a bad idea. And here's why that's a bad idea. But I think there are some people that believe that. I'm sure I've worked with people who believe that. And it's just, that's again, not me, not the way I do things. And
so what I want to know though is, did you teach any of your students how to drive?
not in the way that Mr. Shoop does with Denise. Though, by the way, and I should say this because I know I said it about like Chainsaw and Dave, but I have had students that like these. What got me about this was the like believability of so much of it and so many of these characters, because I've had kids that almost every one of those characters reminded me of.
Yeah.
Like I've had the kids who were like so focused on sports that nothing else mattered. I didn't have anyone who I don't think I've had anyone who stripped, though. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, and just going back to Denise, it's like the part of her character that's probably very relatable is her dyslexia. That's probably something that's extremely common.
Oh, and that's another, and that's another thing is and one thing I think we think like, you know, we watched this movie from 1987 and we think, oh, okay, well, they didn't really know as much then. And now I'm sure she would get help much sooner. Not necessarily. Like if
Maybe
you're
not at Oceanfront High.
Not in Oceanfront High. If you're going to public school, if you're going to a public school that's not in a more affluent area, chances are there are a lot of kids who already receive special services, and there are a lot of kids who need them but aren't classified. So someone like Denise, who, like they say, you know, she slipped through the cracks. I heard that and I was like, God damn, that's like, this movie's from 1987 and that still happens. Like that still happens. I get kids coming in my class and I see their writing and I'm like, wow, this kid hasn't had, if they're getting to high school and they have these issues, then yeah, they've really slipped through the cracks. Yeah. And it's a lot.
I also know that the student that you've had that's performed the best spent the entire time in the bathroom.
If only that was the case for them. Trust me, I have kids who have probably spent as much time in the bathroom, but so I found that to be very relatable. And on the have I taught my kids to drive? Definitely not behind the wheel, though. I've said like we've talked about it. We've definitely talked about it, and in Seattle, Seattle's not known for having the best drivers in the world. Okay. The theory I developed when I first moved here was that everyone learns how to drive as though at any moment Sasquatch could come out from the side of the road and run across the road. So that everyone's constantly riding their brakes and like, I'm not sure what to do. It's a very...
Well, Dan, you joke, but Sasquatch is very real and that could happen.
Well, it did happen in Harry and the Hendersons, but that's another 1987 comedy for another time.
Was that 87?
Sure was. 87 was an awesome year for movies.
Yeah, we've already done a bunch of movies from 87, I feel like.
Summer 87 was, I feel like, had a lot of memorable hits. Monster Squad, Predator, Full Metal Jacket.
That was 87. Jeez.
That was a summer 87 movie, yeah. Anyway, so that we don't digress from summer school. But yeah, I've definitely given advice. I've definitely like the relationship, just to get back to the relationship building. It's something that's so important, and it's really what enables him to to be successful. And honestly, one of the few things that bothered me about the movie was how much he sacrifices for them, and that it takes more than it should for them to kind of turn around and say like, hey, like, this guy's helped us out a lot. He goes to jail. He goes to jail for two of the kids. Like,
yeah. I mean, something else that you have to remember, and I'm not saying that the writing of this movie is perfect, but like, teenagers don't care. You know, they don't think about anybody but themselves, you know, in most cases.
That's an unfair generalization.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. From my own teenage experience, I can tell you that it would have taken me a while to empathize with a teacher who's giving up so much. Especially if I'm one of these, you know, a student or somebody who's a teenager who's doesn't care about school in the first place, like these kids for the most part.
And sometimes you have to wonder why they don't care about school. And I feel like a lot of what I hear about teachers, I think more teachers need to maybe not be as afraid to be more Mr. Shoop. I'm not saying take him to the petting zoo, but,
right?
You know, just taking the time.
That's not a euphemism. He actually took them to a petting zoo.
Yeah, he takes them, but like getting to know them. Getting to know, like, one thing I found myself connecting with, and something that I saw in a different respect, was the kind of the lack of judgment with Rhonda, the student who's pregnant. And there's never any discussion of like, what did you do? Like, why did you do this? Why did you make this? And nothing like that.
It just is.
Which is so, I mean, but that's honestly, it's like, that's what you do. Like, you don't, when you have a kid who's in a situation like that, the last thing you want to do is alienate them by judging them. Trust me, that kid has already received all the judgment they can get. They've most likely gotten it already. So, and from people whose opinions matter to them more than yours as their teacher. But, you know, I've had students who were pregnant. I've had students who already had kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And like, you know, what are you going to, you know, it's like they have the kid. You want them to show up to class. You first of all have to appreciate that they're there, because having a kid is hard and it's exhausting, and hard when you're an adult. I can only imagine if you're 16,
right?
17, 18, whatever. Like, if you're still showing up to school, even especially after missing, because these kids, you know, some of them miss a whole year of school or a half a year of school,
right?
Having these babies, and then for them to come back, knowing that they're behind, knowing that all the other kids are, you know, they know this about them.
Right.
Like, that's so challenging. So you have to just kind of first acknowledge the fact that they showed up.
Yeah.
It's like, that's awesome. Like, and what he says about the improvement is so spot on. And I think parents, I mean, not every parent, you're going to have parents who jump down the teacher's throat for kids, whatever their shortcomings are academically. But like, the parents really going to bat for him is like, I think I've seen a lot of that. I mean, we all, you know, we hear horror stories about the parents who call or who come in and say, why didn't my kid get an A on this? And why didn't this happen? And why didn't that happen? But really, like, the majority of the parents that I've worked with, all they want to do is know how they can help their kid. And a lot of
Right.
times, and honestly, it's like, it's not necessarily about the grade, but it's about how the kid feels about themselves. And if you have, like if you're constantly being told, all right, well, a C equals mediocre, average.
Right.
Now it's like I don't hear anyone like, who's like, oh, okay, good. All right, I got a C. That's fine. But the focus on the improvement is really where things should be. And to tell a kid, maybe not to like, not give C's, but to say like, all right, yes, okay, you got a C on this, but look at how you did the last time you tried something
Right.
like this. You had an improvement. And I felt that Shoop not only, I think, is a really, effective teacher in that respect, in pretty much every respect other than like teaching the subject matter, he's not only effective, but I think he's a little ahead of he's a little forward thinking, especially taken that this is 1987.
Well, something else that you also have to keep in mind is that this was written by none other than Jeff Franklin, the person who gave us Full House.
Right.
Yeah, as soon as I saw his name come up, I was like, the Full House guy? And sure enough, so it's like Jeff Franklin, if nothing else, is certainly the master of like putting you on someone's side and making you like really root for them.
Yeah.
And say what you will about Full House, but it's like he's very effective at creating those characters.
I mean, if you will, Uncle Jesse is a bit of a Mr. Shoop.
He is a bit of a Mr. Shoop.
He
Takes him a lot
matures.
longer to mature as Mr. Shoop, but
Well, you got to have your Jesse and the Rippers phase. And interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure Full House debuted in 1987.
entirely possible.
Man, worlds collided.
So
Go ahead, John.
So before we get into where we would see this movie going in the future, we should acknowledge that there has been discussion of remaking Summer School. But the conversation kind of began in like 2005, but really ended 2012-ish. In I think 2011 or 2012, it was announced that there was going to be a remake produced by Happy Madison and Adam Sandler. So I don't think that it ever. I mean, it certainly didn't end up going anywhere because we don't have it. But
Right.
I'm wondering really what they were planning on doing. If it was going to be an Adam Sandler thing, I certainly have feelings about that. But I could see how somebody like Adam Sandler could get this type of movie going.
Yeah.
I would be nervous about exactly how it would be dealt with, considering the style of humor that his movies tend to take.
And I feel like it would have actually made for a really good, like, Happy Madison production 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Like in that, let's take Adam Sandler and put him with whether it's Joey Lauren Adams, Drew Barrymore,
Right. Mm-hmm.
whoever. But I could totally see that working out, and much in the vein of something like a School of Rock,
Right.
which bears a lot of similarity to it. Another I think similarity, a little, not exactly a like sequel or anything related to this, but if you're familiar with the series, I know we've talked about it before, but for those of you listening, if you're familiar with the series AP Bio, which stars Glenn Howerton as a teacher, he I found a lot of, even though the storyline is different and the kids are very different, I found a lot of commonality in how he connects with the students and how he also just avoids teaching them. But
yeah.
I thought
I
a
agree
lot
with
of
you.
yeah.
I know. I agree with you in that had this been made, Happy Madison 20 years ago, 15 years ago rather, where it could have, he would have been more age appropriate to play that type of gym teacher character. Also put him with, Drew Barrymore as the Kirstie Alley. I could have seen that, but now I feel like it would just get lost in the shuffle and it wouldn't stick, especially if it was Adam Sandler.
Yeah. And I know we talked about
too old.
Well, we talked about it we talked about Happy Madison in terms of Cannonball Run, which I think is a remake or reboot that I think just would fit that very well. And
sure.
But I agree with you. Summer School is not, it's not something that I would want to see just kind of a remake and then, little to no, fanfare around it.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the Happy Madison Netflix productions, so I really can't comment, but I'd be concerned.
Netflix is trying to get me to watch this new one, but I'm not biting.
What's the new one?
Jennifer
Is that
Aniston?
the murder mystery?
Yeah, I think so. He's got a mustache. And Jennifer Aniston's there.
The one that I was interested in, the one with him and Chris Rock where their kids are getting married.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
That one looked like it might be funny. I'm just kind of, I don't feel like that works now for Summer School, but I like 2005 would have been the way to go.
So what would you do with Summer School?
Oh, well, first of all, remake.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Remake. I don't really see another way to go with it. I don't think a sequel where like they all come back for their reunion or like Mr. Shoop's retirement or something is going to work.
The only way I could see it working is if David Lee Roth and Sean Penn have a Mamma Mia scenario with the baby that was up for adoption, Rhonda's baby, because as she states, the father could either be David Lee Roth, but he's always on tour, or Sean Penn, but she didn't want to upset Madonna. Was it Madonna at the time?
It was Madonna. Yeah.
Yeah. So get a little Mamma Mia situation going.
You could probably get Sean Penn to be in it. And I don't know, maybe instead of the songs of ABBA, it could be like Ace of Base.
Well, why couldn't it be the songs of Van Halen? It's David Lee Roth. Come on.
Good question. Dance the night away. Why couldn't we have? Yeah, I ain't got nobody.
So, anyway, I agree with you completely. Remake. And how would you see that going? Who would you put in it?
Well, first of all, I would definitely probably remove the scenes where Mr. Shoop hosts a house party and lays on his bed with one of his students and has one of his students move
16-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of that, incredibly problematic. But as far as casting goes, I went so many different directions on this, and my first instinct was Ryan Reynolds. I thought,
really?
Yeah, I thought again, I was like, this would be a good like role for Ryan Reynolds to play that is a little something different than what he's been doing more lately. But then I also thought of, and I thought of this actually, I was thinking watching MacGruber, directed by Jorma Taccone, directed that, right? I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I apologize.
Taccone of The Lonely Island.
Of The Lonely Island. And here I am thinking like, well, Andy Samberg as Mr. Shoop.
He's on my list.
That kind of works for me. I also think I know a popular name that comes up a lot here is Donald Glover, but just thinking about
He's on my
actors
list.
in that range. And I also something I was reading an article and I don't know did you see Sorry to Bother You?
Sorry to bother you. Yes.
With Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah.
He's pretty funny. And
He's great.
I would be interested to see him do something like this. I mean, I think as far as I know, I'm pretty sure I saw him in maybe one other thing, but I know I saw him in Sorry to Bother You, which he was fantastic.
And also his co-star Armie Hammer would be another good one. and you get Timothy Chalamet as one of the students. Little reunion action.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't really think of any casting for the students because
yeah, me either. I don't really know younger people as much aside from Timothy Chalamet.
You just kind of gotta, pluck them from whatever like Netflix series or
TikTok
Disney
stars.
Channel, TikTok stars. Yeah, it's all of my students. Man, do you know how many TikToks? Today was the last day. So appropriately, today was the last day of school for me. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. I signed so many yearbooks today, and I was in a few TikToks. I could be a TikTok star.
Whoa.
We'll see what happens. I don't know. I also rapped today in class, but that's another story for another time.
Oh,
I rapped the entire plot of Mice and Men.
Oh my God, you love of Mice and Men.
I do love Of Mice and Men. It is a fucking wonderful book. But yeah, so that's kind of that. Those are like so that was kind of my top 4 for Shoop, and then also I don't have him on my list, but we were talking Dax Shepard. Last time, and I was like, oh, that would be a nice, fun little Dax Shepard, Kristen Bell combo.
Yeah, could be. The people that I had on my list, Jason Segel.
So I had Jason Segel on my first list.
You had a first list.
Jason Segel was on the first draft of the list, and then I remembered I thought about the movie Bad Teacher.
Bad Teacher, yeah.
Which I like, but he's in that basically playing a gym teacher who...
Oh, is he a gym teacher? I never saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, I say it's not bad. It's pretty funny. But yeah, he plays I was like, it's like close enough. And I don't think anyone's going to think like, oh yeah, but what about Bad Teacher? But Jason Segel, I thought would definitely be a great choice.
All right, here's another one. Kate McKinnon.
Oh, Kate McKinnon
she'd be an awesome Shoop.
Yeah. She's pretty great.
Yeah, she, as far as I'm concerned, can do anything. I've got Justin Long.
What about Ilana Glazer?
Ooh, Ilana Glazer could be really interesting. Yeah.
Like, I've only seen a few episodes of Broad City, but I think it's hilarious.
You've only seen a few episodes? It's so good.
I know. The ones I've seen, I've laughed my ass off at. But yeah. I just thought about that. I was like, oh, Lana, she pulls, I hope I'm not getting them confused, but I think I'm thinking of the one who I'm thinking of.
With the curly hair?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes.
So,
good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I never really think to go to her, but I don't know why not. That would be a really interesting. I feel like she would make it feel more like School of Rock, which in a lot of ways is a different version of summer school.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing between like School of Rock and AP Bio, the difference between that and summer school is those are about like the quote unquote honors kids.
Yeah.
The AP kids. And yeah, I think what I like about summer school is it's like this they represent, I would say, more of the student body.
Another person that I had on my list, Chris Evans. Love Chris Evans. I feel like he is due for a chance to just do like another straight up comedy.
But not another teen movie.
But yes, another teen movie.
Yeah, no.
Yes. And I feel like he would I feel like he would fit into the role of a gym teacher really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, one of our favorite go-to is Mindy Kaling.
Yeah. Why not?
Because she works for anything.
She does. Yeah. I mean, you could, and honestly, you could cast her as, she could be Shoop. She could be, I'm blanking on the Kirstie Alley character's name.
My mind was going to Pam, but that's the student.
Yeah. Yeah. So, although that actually makes me think Jenna Fisher, who would be
Robin Bishop.
Robin, right. Robin. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that those would all be great Shoops. I thought of Justin Long because I was thinking about his character in the movie Accepted. Kind of the spirit of that character, I feel like could be pretty Shoopy.
Yeah. I could see it. I could see Justin Long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could see Justin Long.
Why not?
In Summer School 2020.
Summer School 2020. Now, and on the other end of it, I had a few for the role of Robin. I was kind of trying to think. You know who I first of all, Issa Rae.
Oh yeah,
so funny.
That would be really good.
And that Robin, like, she's not like this stuck up teacher. She's got like she does that whole thing with the gestures with the when she they're like cursing and she comes in and she's like, maybe learn some gestures, and she does like the whole like, you know, dick in the mouth gesture, and
right.
It's kind of, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. So I was like, Issa Rae would be really good. Natalie Morales, who I like
Natalie Morales a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
She's good in everything.
Allison Brie.
Ooh, you know who would be a really interesting Shoop?
Who?
Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz. Yeah, we're on a Parks and Rec kick now here. All right.
Well, that's what got me thinking about it, and then did you ever see House of Lies?
No.
He's very good on House of Lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once that show gets past being like, hey, we're going to show boobs all the time, and then they start to actually get more serious about stuff, that's when it gets, for me, really good. And Ben Schwartz does some really awesome stuff in that show. So
great. Well, I like Ben Schwartz. Sure. Mm-hmm. Now, who are you thinking for? Who did you have for the assistant principal?
Philip. I didn't go ahead. I didn't like casting those, but the one person I was just thinking as we were like kind of talking about it, Scoot McNairy.
Oh, yeah.
Scoot McNairy, who is he was in Man of Steel. He was on *Halt and Catch Fire*. He's in everything, and
he's Monsters.
He's in everything.
Yeah, he's in a lot. Scoot McNairy would be good. Yeah. My first instinct was Steve Carell.
Oh,
and then thinking about age, I was like, he might be a little old if we're going to have the love triangle thing. So Bradley Cooper, who has he played an obnoxious character since Wedding Crashers?
Not to my knowledge.
Like a character who's meant to be obnoxious. I'm sure people have found some of his characters to be obnoxious, but like I feel like he's always playing like either kind of the suave hero or the nice guy, or just, a sympathetic character, or A Star Is Born. Yeah, he's in The Shallow. So I was thinking Bradley Cooper. I also thought Adam Scott.
Oh, Adam Scott's so good.
Who plays a great douchebag.
I would almost want to see him play Shoop and Gibbs, like just wearing different, facial hair or something.
Yeah, he's got the beard as Shoop, I guess, or I don't know.
Who knows?
But I loved him so much in Step Brothers.
Well, hey, talking about that's another Parks and Rec connection.
Yeah.
No, Adam Scott's awesome. Get John Hamm as the vice principal.
Yeah. He's, John, there's just some,
some
some
Ed
actors.
Helms.
Ed Helms as the assistant principal. Oh, yeah.
We could just
I
keep
like
on
that.
listing people
I
all
like
day and
that.
all night.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's also, if you're remaking it, we can add other characters. Like Shoop
Right.
Shoop's got like his girlfriend who he's going to Hawaii with. But then she just ditches him and is like, I'll go by myself. And he's like, fine, I'm going to start hitting on Kirstie Alley. So, but you could definitely add in a remake, like, you know, does he have any other friends who teach at the school, or like, does he have any other friends, like, period? Could you get someone else in there with him?
Yeah. Shoop is totally a loner. I mean, he's got his dog and that's basically it.
Yeah.
Wonder Mutt.
Yeah. Wonder Mutt.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
if any of you listening have any thoughts about summer school, please email us, ruinchildhoodspod@gmail.com. If we don't get to that part of this, then we're just going to keep on naming people that could be Shoop.
But
no one's got time for that.
No, but I definitely want to say before we close up on this, that first of all, just my compliments again, like the writing of it. These characters are very real and like a lot more believable than one would expect. And I think that what was I gonna say? I had a note here and I lost it. So I felt that the stakes were, I think the pacing of this movie is really well done. And I think the stakes are pretty good, and they keep building, because first it's just, hey, he needs the AP's recommendation for tenure, so he's kind of got to do the summer school gig.
Yeah.
So, but then after that first part of the movie where he's just taking the kids on field trips and everything, and then he gets the kind of the ultimatum where he has to get all the kids to pass.
Right.
And then it just keeps getting more and more, like when Ikian negotiates that they're going to work hard for him, he has to grant their wishes. I like how it builds really nicely, and not so much to where you're just like, okay, all right, when are they going to stop this? When are they going to move on? So
I also want to give
appreciate
kudos
that.
to the scene where it's Chainsaw's dream sequence, where he wakes up with the like prosthetic hand, like the movie prop hand, like massaging his throat, and then he's like waking up and he gets his clothes on, he's refreshed, he goes to breakfast, and he's got this like Cleaver family and they're asking him questions, and he's like, can't remember any of the, so it's like, do you want, scramble, what kind of eggs do you want? And he's like, what are eggs? And then his sister's like, how do you spell cat? And he's like, I don't know anything.
Everything is blank.
That scene is done so perfectly. I love it.
That scene's great. You got the whole like the take your seats gag, which is, I mean, probably the most famous joke from that is when Mark Harmon gets serious. He says, "Take your seats," and Chainsaw and Dave pick up their desks and say, "Where should we take them?" I used that in the play I directed last fall. In
Oh
Fools,
my God,
Neil Simon's
that's
Fools.
amazing.
Not like the whole thing, but I just had like because the play Fools takes place in a village of idiots, and they're all coming together for this wedding. And I just had the magistrate, the character, like his line is supposed to be like, please sit down. And I just changed it to like, please take your seats, so that they could all pick up the benches. And
well, it's kind of like in Men in Tights with "Lend me your ears," and then they all throw their ears.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of fun there. But Oh yeah, I noticed. I was like, another teaching technique that he uses that I use is when he's trying to get the kids to learn how to like to actually write, and he tells them like, look, you write letters to people and you can get free stuff. That is the angle. I tell kids about like emails or phone calls that I've made and like using evidence to like get a company to replace something or provide something for free.
No, yeah, that was a great tactic. And so Chainsaw sends a letter to a sunglass company complaining, and then he gets sent a whole box of sunglasses. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, basically, like the lesson of this is if you're a teacher, don't like treating the kids like your enemies, being adversarial with them is not going to get you anywhere. Your success is based on their success, and like they're teenagers. So a lot of them are not going to do things they don't want to do.
Well, one thing that I feel like, I know we can keep on talking about it. I feel like a missed opportunity of summer school, considering how Chainsaw and Dave are so drawn to these movies and are clearly really talented at makeup and special effects. They have that scene where they have like the other teacher coming in to replace Shoop, and it's like a horror scene in there where they're hanging from the ceiling and they've got eyeballs coming out and blood's everywhere. I feel like that could have been something that would have been used as a lesson, where it's like, you have the ability to make something of this talent of yours, but in order to do that, you need to know how to do these other things.
But you could, and I think that also like now and in a remake with the capabilities and technology that kids have now, like I always thought my video projects in high school were pretty good, but damn, the production value on the stuff my kids do now, it's amazing. Yeah. So I think like phones and the issue of phones in the classroom could be so well tackled, because it's another thing where some teachers are like, no phones. If I see a phone, you have a detention. And then there's the other teachers who are like, well, I have an Instagram feed for my students, and it's, I use it because I see my kids on Instagram all the time. So I'm like, all right, well, if I post homework assignments on Instagram, I know they'll see them.
I follow it and I see it sometimes, not remembering what exactly it is. And I'm like, what is this?
There's a test? Wait, there's an essay due? Oh no.
Wake up in a cold sweat.
What are eggs? But yeah, I think it's there's so many more things that you could tap into with education now.
Yeah, for sure. So Dan, do you want to tell everyone what our next movie is going to be?
All right, so coming up next, we are going to be celebrating the 30th anniversary of the 1989 action classic Roadhouse.
You would consider it action?
I guess action drama, philosophical action, I guess.
It's one of the male butt cheek movies of the 80s that can't be missed.
Is that did you just make that up?
Oh, I guess. I don't know. I think so, but it's true.
Well, it's amazing, no, because you said that, and I'm like 5 other movies. I'm like, oh wait, Lethal Weapon.
When did Tango and Cash come out?
89.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the year of the male butt cheek.
They parodied that in Loaded Weapon.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze, Kelly Lynch, anyone else?
Yeah. Oh, why am I blanking?
Hardcore legend Terry Funk.
What?
So yes, professional wrestler Terry Funk, the hardcore legend, plays one of the bouncers in the bar when Patrick Swayze first shows up there, and then he like fires all the other bouncers. Terry Funk is like one of those guys.
And isn't Sam Elliott in it?
Oh yeah, Sam Elliott is in it. You are right.
Anyway, I'm excited to
fantastic.
revisit. I'm excited to revisit this movie.
Yes.
And I'm also excited to watch Summer School again because last night I showed Laura, my wife, the trailer to Summer School, and she was like, yes, I definitely want to watch this. So I will be watching it again soon.
That's great. I mean, what a fun movie. And
It is
honestly,
so fun.
I don't know if I had ever really like sat down and watched it before. Like I don't remember the first time I didn't see it in the theater.
I mean, Comedy Central, HBO, probably HBO.
You watch it for like 15 minutes, put it on and do something else. But like, man, I really enjoyed it. So if you haven't seen Summer School, I hope
found
you've
the
enjoyed
DVD
listening to us
at
talk about it.
I found the DVD at my local library. I looked it up online. There were 3 copies in the library system here, and all 3 were available. One of them at the library that's a block and a half away from my house. So
That's awesome.
Marched on over there and picked up Summer School.
I had to put a hold on it at my library. It's a very popular. I think there's 5 copies rotating around the system.
Wow.
And anyway, long story short, folks, support your local library.
It's always so encouraging to see like these types of movies that there are copies of them that people actually have out and are watching.
It's
like the idea that someone's like, oh yeah, I'll watch Summer School from the library.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea.
Oh, I had to wait a couple of days for Cannonball Run.
Yeah, worth it. Worth the wait.
Worth
anyway,
every tax penny.
ruinchildhoodspod@gmail.com. We are at ruinchildhoodspod on Instagram. And that's what I got. Got anything else, Dan?
No, man. We'll see you at the Roadhouse.
Yeah, good journey.
Good journey.
Tension breaker had to be done.
Good luck, gang. Ready? Begin.